The 11th Type, a serialized ghost story for Halloween. "And what will you have, my girl?" the innkeeper asked. "I will have a meat pie, whatever your most famous and delicious local meat pie is. I'll have that," said Millennium. "Meat pie? No, no, the missus, that is my wife, that is the landlady of this establishment. She'll be making meat pies for New Year's Day. All we have tonight is soup." Inside her head, Millennium thought to herself, "If you only have soup, why didn't you just ask me if I wanted soup?" But instead, outwardly said, "Fine, I'll have the soup then." She then thought to herself, New Year's has already come and gone, except here in England, where the Gregorian calendar hasn't been adopted yet. Except England had adopted the Gregorian calendar in September of that year. But word had apparently not reached Lancashire, and so Lancashire was still the better part of a month behind the rest of the world. Millennium had already celebrated New Year's in Paris with her friends shortly before she left. New Year's 1753, that is, but apparently New Year's 1753 was approaching here in Lancashire. She let all this go. "What kind of accent is that, my girl? French, is it?" Yes," said Millennium. "French." She felt like saying, "Southern California, I'm from the future," but French would do. She had just come from France, by way of the 21st century. "Aye. And what are you here for? You're looking for work?" No, 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 I have work already. My employer, my benefactor, she wasn't sure what word she should have used. Although the man would know what both words meant, she wasn't sure what she, a woman, should be saying in 1753. My benefactor, he's asked me to meet with a gentleman locally he's been corresponding with, Wallace the Bootblack. "Wallace, Wallace. Well, Wallace will be in a short time. Have a sit down. If your master is wanting you to talk to him about something, he'll be in here. Just you wait there. Have a seat at one of the tables." "Ah, my master." True, she did refer to her benefactor as master, you say, but that was his title. But still, she didn't like the man using the word master. But she didn't feel like arguing with him. She waited for about a quarter of an hour, and the soup was actually quite good. And eventually she found herself staring face to face with the man who was Wallace the Bootblack. He went and ordered a stiff drink at the bar and took it down. "You the girl I'm to talk with?" "Yes, yes." She took a quick glance at her journal book. "What pseudonym had master, you say, used when corresponding with this man?" "Lord Penguinton sent me." "Aye, I'll tell you the whole story from the beginning." "No, no need, no need, no need," said Millennium. "Your correspondence with him was quite thorough. Uh, I just wanted to clarify a few things." In truth, Millennium wanted to clarify a few things if this ghost was indeed the 11th kind, or was about to become the 11th kind. The 11th kind of ghost was theoretical. It was theoretically the most dangerous kind of ghost there could be. It was theoretically the most dangerous thing that could be, of all things. However, Millennium doubted it could exist with what she knew of cosmology and metaphysics. Nonetheless, she asked the man a few questions. "So, it's a black-robed figure, then, and you say it comes down below road by the old Celtic burial ground?" "The what now?" The barrow." "The barrow, aye, comes out of the barrow. Was nothing that came out of there until not long back. A couple of local boys looking for some stone to repair a wall took something out of the barrow, and then it was, toward the end of this summer that is, that we started seeing it. The wraith, black and terrible, all like a sheet a walking, going down that road a moaning in a tongue we could not understand. I was getting to that. She thought to herself, no, that is not a wraith. There were 10 known kinds of ghost. When someone became a ghost, the nature of how they died or were buried or the time of year could affect it, much as the genetics of a person might affect how tall they are or what color hair they have. But similarly, things about the individual and the local culture could also highly affect what kind of ghost someone became, not unlike the nutrition someone might take in or the amount of exercise. Ghosthood, like humanhood, was nature and nurture combined. However, different localities and regions tended to be influenced by culture, and this is why ghosts in China were different from ghosts in England, who were different from ghosts in America. Right, so you say he wasn't it, the ghost, wasn't seen until someone disturbed the barrow. Aye, he said. She wrote it down. This was the first sign that it could be the 11th kind. Most ghosts were not more than 100 years old, and this was due to the nature of souls and what happened to them when they died. When one died, one was meant to return to the well, that is the source of all consciousness, to be reincarnated, but not as one thinks. Picture, if you will, a glass of water being poured back into a pool, and then another glass of water being drawn. Some of the contents of the first glass may be in the new one. Others may have been the contents that were waiting in the well. This is how reincarnation worked. The stuff of your soul got recycled. Some of it would remain in the source of consciousness. Others would become one person, and other portions of it would become yet another person, and such like. Souls were not discrete. And as a result, ghosts could seldom hold themselves together for 100 years. Ancient ghosts, as this one seemed to be, coming out of a Celtic burial mound that was at least 2,500 years old, was therefore an exception. This did not mean automatically that it was the 11th kind. There were more signs. So you say it speaks in a language no one can understand. At first was such. Latin? I speak not Latin, but I can pick it out. That is what it spoke. But has been speaking in our own tongue for the last few days. Of the 3 signs that could indicate the 11th kind, the second one had been met, or at least theoretically. An ancient ghost that could learn seemed very odd. Most ghosts of that age were so wrapped up in one particular emotion that they were no mind. They were walking fields of feeling. This ghost was extremely old, showing no signs of dissipating, and also was coherent and able to learn from its environment. There was still one additional sign. Now, there are tales among the old people. Yes, I'm sure there are. Another sovereign went on the table as one had gone to the innkeep, this one to Wallace the bootblack. And this was her way of telling him she politely knew enough. She retired to her room and pulled the truth compass out and did a quick spell to verify that everything Wallace had said was true, and it was. Millennium, it's true, was technically a witch, among many other things, but describing her as a witch might be like saying that Da Vinci was nothing more than a painter. She was at times a scientist, time traveler, mystic, adventurer, warrior, killer. At one time, she'd been a blogger, but that was in another life before she accidentally traveled backward through time and became a member of an order devoted towards stopping the supernatural. And before one asks, the fact that the world was not destroyed by an 11th time ghost in 1753 originally, allowing Millennium to grow up in the 21st century, does not mean that now, in this iteration of history, the fabric of the universe could not be undone by an 11th kind ghost. Indeed, that is the danger that a ghost of the 11th kind would pose. Most ghosts were not any danger at all. Occasionally, the kind that was known as a pure revenant would be able to kill someone, For the most part, ghosts were an annoyance. But if this ghost was of the 11th kind, humanity was not just in danger. The stars, the planets, heaven and hell were in danger if this was a ghost of the 11th kind. Gravity, the past, the future, all pasts, all futures, all timelines. The danger was incalculable. All right. All I know is that I have an ethereal entity which is extremely old and can learn from its environment. Millennium thought to herself, chances are it's not a ghost. Chances are it is a fae, or it is other. Other meaning angel, demon, jinn, minor god, extraterrestrial, spirit, something of that nature. She looked at her bag. Her bag contained a pouch of the mixture All Faith, which she would use in the coming nights. But first, she would investigate the Fae Avenue. I'm sure it's a Fae. It's nothing more than a Fae. That's all it is. Millennium cast an invisibility on herself and waited by the low road. And sure enough, about a 6'2" cloaked figure came down, speaking in broken English. Make way, I have come back. My time is now. I know, I am. The invisibility spell she had cast on herself kept the ghost from seeing her. It should be noted that a human being would have been able to see her. There was no such thing as a broad spectrum invisibility spell. One could make themselves invisible to something, and in this case, she had made herself invisible to ethereal beings. Millennium was not frightened because she had seen countless ghosts, demons, and other kinds of creatures by now. And she had come of age during the administration of George W. Bush and lived to see the beginning of the Trump administration before being hurtled backward through time. So one ghost didn't make her afraid. I'm sure it's going to turn out to be a fae. It'll be a fae. The next morning, she woke up and she procured iron filings from the blacksmith shop. The night before, she had noted a mile marker stone in the road that was definitely on the path of the spirit. She put the iron filings into the soil, cast the invisibility spell on herself again, and waited. Again, it passed down, the tall, black, cloaked figure. Any second now, Millennium thought to herself, it's going to pass over the filings, and it's going to freak out because it's a fae, and no, it's still going. She sighed to herself. Okay. Even if it is a ghost, we don't know it's the 11th kind. We don't know if the 11th kind can even exist. She comforted herself. Besides that, it's probably just a demon. And yes, the 11th kind of ghost was so bad, a demon would be far preferable to deal with. Millennium returned to her room and procured the All Faith. All Faith was extremely rare, and so, of course, Master Yusei would have wanted her to use the iron filings to detect a fae first. All Faith was a mixture of more than 125 different herbs, each one blessed individually in the faith tradition or occult practice of a different part of the world or different strain of religious belief, and then balanced out by a meta-magician so that the spells and blessings and prayers wouldn't contradict one another. Anything that was not a human, a ghost, or a fae would in some way react to it. Some creatures would grow more powerful, some would be weakened, some would be destroyed, some would freak out, some would experience pleasure, some would curse, others would dance, but it would react. And she was sure that whatever that was that had come out of that barrow was not the 11th kind. After all, if it was the 11th kind, Master Yusei would have sent Sanjay, or would have sent Jean-Pierre, or someone else. Wouldn't have sent Millennium. Would Millennium be his one disciple to deal with the 11th kind? No. The 11th kind is theoretical. The 11th kind is not even possible. The 11th kind is only possible if the universe is infinite, even pre-expansion, And if God is purely half asleep and awake, only then could the 11th kind of ghost occur. And even then, it would be extremely rare. No. The all faith will expose whatever it is, and then I'll just deal with the demon or the jinn or whatever. The third night, she cast the invisibility spell. She tried to not use all of the all faith that was in the bottle, because all faith couldn't be made anymore because some of the faiths required to make it had disappeared centuries ago. But to saturate the entire area where the spirit might walk, she needed the entire bottle. She also cast a spell that no breeze would come along, unlike the iron filings. The all faith could be dispersed rather easily. And then she cast the invisibility spell upon herself. She watched. Wonder what it's going to do. I'll know right away what kind of thing it is, and it's passing, unaffected. It's a ghost. It's nothing other than a ghost. The veracity spell I cast on the bootblack's testimony said it did come out of the barrow. It's more than 2,000 years old and it's still coherent. And it's learned English. There was a third sign a ghost would have to meet if it was on the cusp of becoming the 11th kind. But for this, Millennium would have to consult with Master Yusei. But communication across the distance in 1753 was not exactly easy, and so she returned to her room without sleep and began preparations for the distant communication that she would undertake in the morning without rest.